Happy Friday, everyone. I've got a brand new song out today, and so in celebration of my brand new song, I wanted to come on and talk to you guys about songwriting. I've been a songwriter for about 15 years, and I've been making records all that time. I made a lot of albums before I made my solo studio albums. I made EPs, I made short recordings, 3, 4, 5 songs. And, writing songs and making records has really been, for me in my life, complete. Like, it's totally changed my adult life, in the sense that anytime I have something bad going on in my life, anytime I have something challenging going on in my life, I'm able to kind of transmute that pain into something meaningful. The very first record I made was Airs and Gracies. That's Heirs and Gracies, Airs and Gracies. And I made Airs and Gracies back in 2012. And at the time I was experiencing the loss of my dad. He was only 67 years old. I mean, it's not that young, but it's not that old either. And I really just was like coming to terms with losing my dad, and also coming to terms with kind of becoming successful and being able to provide for myself with music. And so the first album, in many ways, it was like an album for my dad. I wanted to make an album for my dad. I wanted him to be proud of me. I wanted him to feel visible before he left, So I kind of dedicated myself to making this album that was, my first album really was just like a collection of stuff that I think my dad liked, He was a big fan of American songwriters, and so really I just wanted to make something that he would like, That was the main aim behind my very first album. And I would say that I did achieve that, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, because he's no longer here. He left in 2012, but I think he would have, I know he would have liked it, because I know it was so in line with the kinds of things that he was into. And he actually gave me some money to make an album for him around that time of his favorite covers. And I didn't have the emotional capacity at that point. I wasn't in therapy yet. I wasn't really in control of myself yet. And so I didn't really know what to do. So I ended up just spending that money in the pub. And it was really a while after that I got around to making that record for him. We'll get to that later. But yeah, I made my first record. I've been out touring all over the world with a band called Rura, R-U-R-A. We made a couple of records together. I'd left the building site when I was 20 years old. So, I decided I was going to be a professional musician, and I set about that task of becoming a professional musician. On my 20th birthday, I decided I'd join a band called Rura. We toured everywhere, all over the UK, all over Europe. Sometimes we went to America, places like that. And made a couple of records with them. Made my first solo album with a guy called John Wood, who made amazing albums for people like Pink Floyd. He worked with people like John Martin, Nick Drake. And then around this time, the success was kind of getting to me, and I started to sort of drink my way and drug my way through this experience I was having, where I didn't really know how to handle success. You know, I've been afraid of a lot of things in my life, honestly. I've been afraid of failure. I've been afraid of success. And success is definitely more fun. A more fun kind of fear. But around the age of 22 years old, I asked my brother, Colin, I was like, what is it that you're doing? Because it seems like you are in a decent, you know, mind state, basically. And he shared with me that he'd been going to therapy. So I started going to therapy, and I really worked through quite a lot of my suffering there, and I made peace with a lot of my pain, and I began to feel more like myself again. I made a second album called Brighter Still, and I was really afraid, honestly. I remember feeling really afraid. It's funny because I'm working with someone right now, and they're making their first album, and they're a tremendously talented person, but they're just going through all of those feelings. They're going through all of those emotions of like, am I good enough? Is the work good enough? All that kind of stuff that we just go through. It's just part of it. And I can remember that for me, I was getting ready to do my second album. I felt like it had a long time to make the first one, really. And the second one, I just had to come up with it really quickly. So I decided that I'd write a song a day, every single day for a few months, and release the best 10. And that was my second album, Brighter Still. And we were in the studio, and the drummer, Callum, whacked himself in the eye with a stick. So he had to go to hospital. So he laid down this beat, and we just played along to the beat. And that was a song called People Come, People Go. And the only reason that song ended up sounding the way it sounds on the record. Hi, darling.
I want to show you something.
I'm just doing a bit of a chat right now. Can you show me in like 10 minutes? Is that cool? Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of right in the middle of this chat. Is that okay? Yeah, you can watch for 15 minutes and then you can show me, yeah?
Okay.
Awesome. Oh, really? Thanks, darling. Yeah, so it's funny how like sometimes just a kind of chance thing can lead to like a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of being. And that was the case for me. Like this beat that Callum laid down when he had to go to the hospital to get his eye checked out was, I loved it. I loved the feel of it, and it felt quite hypnotic, and it felt quite sort of Afrobeat. And so we tracked to that. And then the next album I made, Midnight Milk, I really wanted to take more of those sounds, get more of that feel, and just kind of explore those textures more and more. So I made that whole one on the road. I was gigging a lot. I was in Austria a lot at the time, playing shows with Rura, and I made the record on my laptop in the van in between the gigs, and then had a big party and got loads of people to come to my house and got them all to play stuff on it in real life after that. And that was Midnight Milk. And then I didn't make an album for a couple of years because it was COVID, stuff was happening. And after that, I made a record called Dreamweaver coming out of COVID. And it was all about like, isn't it funny how dreams, a songwriter is a dream weaver. We write these dreams and we share them. And it's like letting people into your dream. It's like letting people into your world. So my fourth album I wrote in a shed with an amazing songwriter called Boo Hewerdine during lockdown. And the idea behind it was like just to go in, there was more memory. I just had to draw from memory, because normally as a songwriter you're drawing from your everyday life, but my everyday life was just, it was COVID, so there was nothing really happening. So it was much more about memory, the themes of memory and childhood. And that's Dreamweaver. Now, a couple of years after that, I went to make my fifth solo album, which is called Hope Park. And that was towards the tail end of COVID. And I was just enjoying being in Edinburgh a lot more than I'd ever really been, because all throughout my 20s, I'd been all over the world gigging and playing shows. And so Hope Park was really just a love letter to Edinburgh. And I wanted it to be very sparse and very bare. And so we did it all completely live. And we just played acoustic instruments. And the whole thing was just very, very bare bones, kind of wooden acoustic stuff and real live performances. And that was what I was into at that point in time. So I made Hope Park and released that. And then I hadn't made anything for a wee while. And then it came to me like, I haven't made this album for my dad yet. You know, my dad gave me, I think he gave me like £300, you know, when he was dying, to make this album. And yeah, I hadn't got it together to make it yet. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make songs for my father. I'm gonna do it. In fact, tell a lie. I tell a lie. I might have done The Voice of Scotland, actually. Was it The Voice of Scotland, or was it, I can tell you now, I'm having to look at my discography. Yeah, it was The Voice of Scotland, which was a whole album of folk covers, really, for my mum. My mum introduced me to a lot of the folk music in Scotland, and so a lot of our relationship was just like sharing folk songs. And I really wanted to have a record of all of those beautiful old Scottish folk songs. So I did that. And then I thought, well, I better do the one for my dad now. So I did songs for my father. Next, I made songs for my father, and that featured songs by Bob Marley and Bob Dylan and amazing people like that. It was all covers. And then my social media started blowing up. So I decided it was time to make my 8th album, which is called Small World. And in 2025, I made my 8th album, which was the top 10 tracks from my past. Because I've been playing for a long time, I decided I was going to create something for people who'd never, ever heard of me, which is like most people, obviously. But I wanted to kind of dig into the old catalogue and just create something that really reintroduced me to people who didn't know who I was. So I made an album with my most streamed 10 songs, but doing them, you know, as a 33-year-old rather than a kind of 21-year-old, right? So I made that. I was just locked in a little kind of basement on my own for about a month making that, and put that out. And then I just started to feel I was going through a few therapeutic processes, like processing some things I'd experienced in my childhood. And I was in a, you know, almost like when you're in a good relationship, which I am, and I've never really been in a really, really good relationship before, but I felt like that space kind of allowed me to really go in and look at some of the stuff that I'd experienced when I was younger and want to work on it for the sake of the relationship and make it better. So a few things came up that had happened in my childhood, and I decided to take them to a different kind of therapist and work through it. So we did, and it was it was a lot of work. It was very intense. You know, I was going through a lot of intense stuff. And I realized that for most of my adult life, I've been in survival mode. So I started to create an album called Survival. And I decided I'm going to just talk to all these things that I've kind of been surviving for the longest time. And I'm going to let them go, and I'm going to get on with the rest of my life, you know? So my 9th album was called Survival. And it's all about the tough things that I kind of went through in my whole life, but certainly in my childhood, and then certainly in the last 10 years as well, as a grown-up. So that was my 9th album. And then as well as I released some best of 10 years live stuff as well. I don't really count them in there, but my 10th album, it's called Songwriter, and I decided again I wanted to work with Boo Hewerdine that I'd written Dreamweaver with again, because it had been such a mind-opening experience to work with Boo and just kind of be bigger than one person. That's the cool thing about writing with other people, is like drawing on two wells of experience again. So we wrote just last year, just towards the tail end of last year, I would say in about 2 months, we wrote a bunch of songs, and I just went to the studio and recorded them. And my 10th album is called Songwriter, and it's the latest one that I did. And you can listen to all my records on Spotify and Apple Music. I'm just releasing a song a week every week in 2026. And currently the stuff I'm releasing is a bunch of commissions that I wrote for people. So there was people who paid me to write a song for them, and I became an instrument for them. So I kind of took their information, I took their experience, and I used my skills as a songwriter to create something which told their story. And I've got a bunch of songs that we recorded in a big studio with an amazing band, and we made a film about it as well. And so right now I'm putting out a song a week from the commissions, and there's going to be a film about the commissions coming out in 8 weeks' time. And that's what I'm up to just now. I'm also working, I do a lot of production work, kind of helping other people make records. And I love doing that as well. And I do a lot of gigs, obviously, too. And I've got my club. There's 1,000 of us, more than 1,000 of us in there. And in there I share creative lessons. And we do live streams. So that the next live stream is on the 1st. Live streams on the 1st of every month. All requests, all questions come from the club, and I answer questions for Q&As, and I perform live inside the club. So if you ever got any value out of what I do, come and join the club. If you want to join, comment club, or if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the top comment. I also have some spaces to work with people sometimes on albums, so you can check availability by clicking the link in the top comment as well. I would say the biggest gift of songwriting for me and making records has just been the ability to really turn my life moments into something meaningful. And honestly, that's made all the difference in my life, because no matter what I'm going through, I have some place to put the pain I'm experiencing, no matter how great or small that pain is. And often, actually, the things which feel like they're wrong with me or a problem are kind of like superpowers within that realm. So I'm just so appreciative to get to spend my life doing that. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, going over some of the info on how I've kind of put some of the albums together. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Peace.